What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming. We are back. I know it's been a while, it's been a hot minute, as they say, but anyway, what's the dealio? Well, welcome everybody. It is the 86th episode of our Quack experimental podcast, and yes, it has been nearly 2 months since we've had one of these episodes. It's been a while, mainly because in the run up to E3, you would see a lot of stuff, you would see a lot of information come out and all, and it would be very sparsely laid out simply because it was so close to E3. Everyone was really just waiting for E3 to properly happen, to have all their announcements, their new games, their big reveals, their trailers, or whatever it is. So naturally, in the run up to it, it was very sparse, and I did not want to force in crappy little, not even non-used topics. They're just so mediocre just to force out one of these. So I said I'd wait. So here we are with our special 86th episode, our big full-on E3 episode, where we're going to cover pretty much all of the important stuff that happened. Some of it's gone into more detail, some of it hasn't. But anyway, let's get started, shall we? Oh, real quick, I do want to mention, just before we go any further, I was originally supposed to stream the Nintendo E3 conference here on the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, the same day, my internet got upgraded. I got provided new box, new TV box, new modem, all that stuff as well. We're up to gigabit internet, by the way, now. Yes, that's right. Gigabit download, at least, anyway. Upload is still... I mean, it's twice what I had before, but it's... in the grand scheme of things, compared to 1 gigabit download, it's not even mediocre when it comes to the upload side of it. But yeah, they said it would take about half an hour to get configured and whatnot as well. It took several hours, so yeah, I missed streaming that, unfortunately. I did watch someone else on my phone, so big ups Theo for streaming that one. So I did manage to get all the notes and all as well for that one. But yeah, you get the idea. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, like I said, some of this is going to have more, the individual announcements are going to have bigger, more details sections, and then where we're going to talk about the big conferences where we got 20 announcements, we're going to keep it fairly brief, fairly concise, fairly short. So first off, we're going to start with Battlefield 2042, the new Battlefield. I don't know why I'm even putting this in here, but some people will want it, so, why not? So yes, Battlefield 2042, not 2142. Honestly, when they showed it and teased it a few weeks ago, based on the slightly futuristic look that they were teasing, I was thinking it was going to be 2143, because there's already a Battlefield 2142. So I was expecting it to be 2143. But no, it's 2042. So this way, it's in the slightly near future. So we're not talking jump jets and rocket packs and stuff like that. We're talking slight sci-fi upgrades of stuff that we already have and already exists today. So you might be talking about I don't know, a robot dog, or I'm drawing a blank, but you get the idea. Anyway, we got some details on it here. So even though it doesn't appeal to me, I'm going to cover it anyway for those of you who are in the less sensible judgment categories, if you will. See what I did there? Anyway, so Battlefield 2042 is going to have up to 128 players on PC and current gen consoles only. On last gen consoles, it's going to have 64 players. Now, this is akin to when you go back to Battlefield 3 when that launched. Now, that didn't have, because that came out before the Xbox One and PS4. Jesus, it feels, it's trying to remember all those names just so far back at this point. It's crazy to think. That literally feels like a year ago. It was madness. Such a waste of a generation. Absolute hardware failure. Anyway, you might remember where I believe that the console versions had 32 players, or maybe it was even 24, and then the PC version had 64 because, advanced capabilities and whatnot. And of course, Battlefield had 64 players for like over a decade at that point on PC, so it's nothing really new, but you get the idea. Anyway, so the 128 player maps, so this is of course only going to count when you're playing on current gen or PC. The 128 player maps will be divided into different sectors. Now this hasn't been properly explained and all. I mean, they've wrote it out like this, but they haven't given demonstrations or examples of how it's going to be, so you never know. But anyway, They're going to be broken into sectors, each sector containing clusters of control points. You capture all of the control points to control the sector. Again, hasn't been fully visually explained or detailed yet. Classes are now categories with specialists included in there, a la Rainbow Six Siege. They're also going to have backstories, they're going to have unique traits and unique gadgets, and can carry any gun. There's going to be 10 specialists at launch. It's going to be a paid system with paid battle passes. There's going to be 4 seasons a year with 4 new specialists per year. Now, from what I could find, and at the time I wrote these notes and the time I looked up the info, to me, that reads like there's going to be 4 paid battle passes per year. 1 per season. I could be wrong, but that's how it sounds to me based on the info I could find and the wording and all I could find. So post-launch maps are going to be free, so you're mainly paying for season-based stuff probably and specialists and all, because they said that the specialists aren't free. They're included with the battle passes. Levolution is making a comeback after disappearing from Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. Everyone has a wingsuit. Now, this one is up in the air because it's... At first, when I found the notes that said that everyone is included with a wingsuit, a couple of days later at the Xbox conference when they first showed the proper gameplay, it didn't seem to be that case. It seemed to be that only certain people had parachutes. So, a video flickering? Oh well, we'll make do. Where was I? Oh yeah, it seemed like some had parachutes, some had wingsuits. So I would hazard a guess it's either a selectable gadget between them, or the wingsuit is one of the specialist perks and whatnot in there too. But it's still, a wingsuit is some type of an option in there. It's going to seemingly have no battle royale mode. Lots of old modes are making a comeback, some with tweaks, some without, some expanded for the bigger 128 players and all that as well. And there's also a couple of new unannounced modes. That's going to start really annoying me, that flicker now. But hey, it's a podcast. You're probably listening to this rather than just straight up watching it. Which, well, I mean, why would you do that? But anyway, there's also a couple of new unannounced modes. Now, importantly, there is no single-player campaign for Battlefield 2042. So that is a big negative for many people. Myself, I don't really play Battlefield. I'm not going to be buying 2042. But when I do get and play Battlefield games over the last... Hell, outside of Battlefield 3 mainly, used to play that with a lot of friends. But I would very, very rarely play some Battlefield 3 or 4 online outside of that. And I would mainly be interested in playing the story. I mean, hell, just recently I bought Battlefield 5 just to play... Well, I say recently. This year I bought Battlefield 5 on sale just because it had a story mode with ray tracing. I wanted to try it out. You know, 3090, big baller. You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, no single player campaign at all in Battlefield 2042, which is a big oof for a lot of this, especially with this next point we're going to bring out now anyway. Because this is launching as a full-priced game. That's right, full-price game. It's more expensive on current gen unless you have PC, which of course is the best version of the game and not the most expensive version of the game, but you get the idea. It is a full-price game despite being multiplayer only with paid battle pass systems and all as well. Of course, it's also not on the Switch, which is important to mention because lol, imagine a game coming out on the Switch. Even though it is coming out on Xbox One and PS4, it is cross-gen. Xbox One, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, PS5, and of course the glorious PC Gaming Master Race. It's out on October 22nd. It's coming to Origin, of course. It is EA's service. But also importantly to note, it's coming to Steam and the Epic Game Store on the same day. Now, realistically, in the likes of Origin stuff, if you're not familiar with how they work when you buy them on, say, Steam or the Epic Game Store, it launches a very light, small Origin client in the background, and it links to your Steam or Epic account. Well, let's be real, it links to your Steam account, because no one's buying it on Epic. So it links to your Steam account, it runs in the background, very, very light, and that's pretty much it. You know, I need to buy a new webcam. You know what, maybe I'll start... We'll figure something out. But anyway, you get the idea. So moving on, we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I was going to call that Tiny Tina's Borderlands for a second. We don't have much info on this one at the moment. It is a Borderlands spin-off. Despite me claiming it's a Borderlands spin-off, they, in the presentation and announcement for this, they both claimed it was a Borderlands spin-off and wasn't a Borderlands spin-off at the same time. So they're trying to market it as their own thing, but they're also trying to cling on to the Borderlands thing. So, I mean, just get real. So, there's not too much about we know at the moment. It is like Tiny Tina's Borderlands 2 DLC, but it's essentially made into a full game. You know, the one with bunkers and badasses. It's called Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. Possibly the greatest DLC in any game ever made. So that is an important one. That is promising, if you will, when it comes to that. Strangely enough, despite the other games in the series like Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, and, well, let's not talk about the pre-sequel because, well, we all know how budget and low rent and why is everyone Australian when it comes to the voice talent in that one. But yeah, so strangely enough, they're not using regular voice actors for this one here. This one is going a bit bigger because it's going to star Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes. It's also going to have Will Arnett as the big bad guy. He's going to be the main villain, Will Arnett. Will Arnett is hilarious, so that's promising. And it's also going to have Ashley Birch, so they do include one regular voice actor in there too. Of course, it's important to note that she does voice Tiny Tina, so you can't really have Tiny Tina's Wonderland without Tiny Tina. And at the same time, I believe she is a writer for Gearbox, or at least for some of the Borderlands franchise and stuff. So I think it does factor all that in. But anyway, that's all beside the point. It's coming to Xbox One, Xbox Series consoles, PS4 and PS5 and PC in early 2022, not coming to Switch, because of course it's not. Now, there's not really too much more info about that. One or two other little pieces of info have come out. There's like customizable magic and spells and grenades, and I mean, they haven't really shown much, so we don't know. It's pissing in the wind, pissing up a rope when you're trying to get all this information from somewhere that's not coming out. But speaking of games that we know even less about, Death Stranding Director's Cut. So, meaningless name addition of a worthless game aside, it's coming to PS5. It's likely coming to PC because, I mean, why wouldn't it? It has stuff like improved frame rate and all, you know, as they do, because console games in the previous generation were absolutely awful. They couldn't even keep their 30 FPS a lot of the time, which 30 FPS in general is an absolute failure, of course. But then, now moving on with this generation, we're still seeing a lot of technological failures when stuff has to offer performance modes and run at stuff like 1512p in order to get 60 FPS. You get the idea. It's still a failure. So naturally, it makes sense. Now, what I find more interesting, first off, like I said, it is a meaningless version and edition of a worthless game. Death Stranding was shite from what I played of it. I bored quit it. It was that bad. But hey, Kojima hasn't made a good game since MGS3, so it's no surprise. Now, I do want to mention one other quick thing about this. So it is called Death Stranding Director's Cut. Kojima is obviously the game director. So let me ask you a question. Does he not have creative control when creating the first game? Why is there director's cut of a game that he supposedly had complete freedom to make and control? Think about that one. Is it just a marketing scheme? In which case they need to come up with a better marketing scheme. Because if the director does not have full director control, what the fuck is the point? But anyway, I don't know. They teased it with a bunch of Metal Gear related stuff. With the cardboard box, Metal Gear Solid style music, the guards moving around back and forth, the views, the camera angles, all that usual stuff. Either way, it's going to be worthless. It's coming out at some point. Feel free to waste your money on it, PlayStation fanboys, because us here at the glorious PC Gaming Master Race, we're not going to bother buying Death Stranding Director's Cut because it's a shit game with a shit upgrade. But hey, keep sucking off Kojima. It's what you do. Damn console plebs. Anyway, even less info. Let's go. Speaking of console plebs, we have Godfall. Because Godfall, if you didn't know, flopped on PC because it looks and plays like a shit game. It's basically a shit game. It also flopped on PS5 because it's a failure and it's a shit game and it just flopped. So now they're bringing it back ported to PS4. Now remember, this is a game that everyone looked at and said, hey, this is clearly nothing properly next gen. We don't know why everyone is saying, well, we don't know why Gearbox is saying, and Sony is saying, and Epic is saying that this is a next gen only game and not possible on current gen. Everyone looked at it and just thought, why? This looks nothing next gen. Lo and behold, it's now being ported to PS4 in order to try get any type of semblance of money because it completely failed and flopped on PC and PS5. And now it's going to flop on PS4. But anyway, let's move on. Now we have another big conference here. This is our first big conference we're going to talk about. So a lot of the stuff will be flipped through very, very fast. Especially because it's one I didn't watch and I just rounded up the notes afterwards. Because it's Ubisoft. They don't do anything good. So we've got Watch Dogs Legion. This one is going to be called the Bloodline expansion. It got a trailer. There's a little bit of details in there. It covers Aiden Pierce in there too. So it's something to do with it's based on the name Bloodline. For all we know, they'll probably tie it into Assassin's Creed somehow. But it's seemingly like maybe Watch Dogs is going to be like Assassin's Creed, where you have your main character from Watch Dogs 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and Legion, all going to be somewhat related or something along those lines. Anyway, who cares? It's Watch Dogs, it's Ubisoft. We've also got Rainbow Six Extraction. It was fully unveiled with a cinematic trailer and a little bit of gameplay. They did change the name, which was originally supposed to be Rainbow Six Quarantine. Too many people probably can't handle the fact that we had a pandemic and, well, got triggered by the name, so they just changed it anyway. We've also got a new Rocksmith game. That one comes with, that's the one where you basically plug a real guitar into your computer using an adapter or into your console. I don't know if it comes to consoles or whatever. And you can essentially, it's not like Guitar Hero. It's so you can arguably learn to play and make it a game at the same time. Where are we? We have Riders Republic. They unveiled some gameplay and gave a little bit of an overview on there. Rainbow Six Siege is also getting crossplay, kind of, in the sense that they're crossplaying all the consoles, and thankfully, well, I would say thankfully because I don't play it, but thankfully they're keeping the console plebs away from the glorious PC Gaming Master Race. Ghost Recon turns 20. Not much about that because they didn't really do anything or give any proper upgrade, but hey, anything with the word Rainbow Six or Splinter Cell, or hell, they just throw Tom Clancy's name on everything at this point, but you get the idea. Just Dance 2022 exists for everything as you'd expect, except the Wii, which is very strange because they've released even the 2021 version on the Wii, so think about that one. Another year of Assassin's Creed Valhalla DLC. How boring and all is that? Far Cry 6, they showed more of it as well, and mostly I can never pronounce this. Is it Giancarlo Esposito? Anyway, we'll call him that. So it shows more of that. He's trying to defend his position when it's like, oh, I'm not a bad guy, but you know, bad guys never say they're bad guys. So if you know anything about the game, he is the bad guy. There's also going to be DLC as well that lets you play as the villains from the previous game. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope has been announced and revealed. Of course, it's exclusive to Switch. Who cares? It's basically another Mario and Rabbids game, aka Kitty XCOM, but not really. And they've had a little final bit of an announcement of an Avatar game. It's called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Now, when I say Avatar, I'm not talking about bald-headed airbenders, but we're talking about the blue people. We're talking blue people. So, yeah, they have announced a game for that. Now, we're going to cover the Xbox show on the next one here. The Xbox show, I did manage to stream by itself, so you will see, if you watch that, you've seen all these announcements, but we'll round them up. You know what? I'm going to take these off because I'm going to fly through this really, really quick because there's all sorts of notes here. So, anyway, Xbox, if you haven't seen the video, they're all here. So we've got Starfield. It is Xbox. I almost said the meme. I almost said it was going to be Xbox exclusive. It is coming to the Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and PC, so it is not exclusive. It's coming on the 11th of the 11th, 2022, which is the 11-year to the day anniversary of Skyrim. Remember, Skyrim. Where are we? Skyrim. But yeah, you get the idea. So 11 of 11 11 11 was Skyrim. 11 11 22 is Starfield. It is confirmed there is no plans for a PlayStation edition, so no PS5. Of course, there'll be no PS4 because there is no Xbox One version. Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl is coming out April 28. It is timed exclusive. I don't even know why I go with that. It is timed on PC and Xbox Series S and X, meaning it is coming to PlayStation 5, not PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Just a quick little side note about that as well. It is a current gen only game. If you go over to the Steam forums, you have. I was going to make a separate video on this, but then I figured I could put it into the Stalker section, Stalker notes, with the Xbox One here in the podcast. There's a lot of people over on the Steam forums complaining that the system requirements are too high. Now, if I remember correctly, the system requirements, the minimum requirements at least, are a 1060, a GTX 1060, which is a graphics card, a low-end graphics card from 2016, which is 5 years ago. By the time this game comes out, it will be 6 years ago. And it's got like a first generation Ryzen, and I think it's an i7 7600, or is that even an i5? Either way, it's an Intel 7th generation i processor. So it's fairly old. These things launched 4, 5, 6 years ago, depending on the individual part and if you're basing it off the time now or how old it will be when it comes out. For years, we have been asking, and PC gamers have been dying to cut off old technology like the PlayStation 4, like the Xbox One, because if you're not familiar with it, you know what, I will make a separate video on this just because the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were woefully outdated by the time they launched. The PS3 and the Xbox 360 were not, so they lasted a bit longer, but the Xbox One and PS4 were significantly out of date by the time they launched, let alone for the next 6 or 7 years. So you see why this can be a bit of an issue. And this was holding games back. And people were asking to cut that off and get rid of it. So now that it's done, games that are only launching on current gen have higher system requirements, like a first generation Ryzen, like an I think it's an i7. We just got i7 or i5 7600K. Well, I guess 7600. I know 2600 was a K i7, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But we're still looking at 6-year-old entry-level GPUs now as minimum. The recommended is a 1080 Ti. Again, 5.5-year-old graphics card. You see, why are people complaining about this? But it's a bit of a silly one, because at the same time, these are the same types of people who are using literally 11-year-old CPUs and complaining that, oh, they can't run Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a true example. That is a true example, because those CPUs don't have, I think it was SSG 4 or something like that, because they're literally so old and it didn't launch back then and it's not backwards compatible in a sense. These people annoy me. These people annoy me. Anyway, let's continue on. We've got Psychonauts 2 coming out on the 25th of August. This one is coming to, from what I understand, Xbox One, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. I don't know if, I didn't see anywhere if it had a PlayStation announcement. Probably not. Halo Infinite had a disappointing showing overall. They did go back and have a longer expanded look at it, at least on the multiplayer later, which I didn't watch because I don't care about the multiplayer. Didn't even take too many of the details from there. But the big thing with their big E3 Microsoft one, they have confirmed free-to-play multiplayer. They've also, didn't cover at the time at least, no modes. It was all in-engine 3D third-person cinematic capture and all of this stuff for the most part. And they only had just a regular CGI story mode trailer, which was kind of disappointing. And they gave us practically no details relating to the story mode. It is coming out in holiday 2021, which is later this year. Depending on where you go, some places are still referring to this as having ray tracing coming in patched post-launch, which is atrocious if true. The game will be delayed one entire year and they're not including it. If that's true, that's atrocious. And I mean, so much of this has me worried anyway, but you get the idea. We've also got Contraband, which is some type of new game or new IP. They only gave us stop motion CG trailer. It showed nothing at all. Basically, it was like one particular frame in photo mode, and everything was just moving around between it the entire time as well. It's some type of co-op survival game, and it's made by Avalanche, aka the Just Cause devs. Outer Worlds 2 was announced. It has no mention of platforms. It was announced with a bad, ironic CG, completely CG trailer. My guess would be a couple of years from now, Xbox Series consoles and PC. Probably nothing else. Slime Rancher 2 was also announced. No details in there, really. We've got Shredders, which is an indie snowboarding game. Atomic Heart, more Rusky Stalker knockoff ripoffs, because that's the hotness nowadays, apparently. Replaced, which is some type of pixel 2D indie game in a dystopian world. Grounded, with its Shroom and Doom update, which apparently people may even still play, I don't know. The game is still in early access after all this time, which is hilarious. Among Us is getting a 15-player lobby update. I'm going to try to pronounce this one, but Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which is the Suikoden spiritual successor. The director of Suikoden and Suikoden 2 from back in the day took to Kickstarter to take up a spiritual successor version, and it is coming with a spin-off game as well. It was delayed from 2022 to 2023, so far at least anyway. It is not an Xbox exclusive. Some of the stuff shown in this was obviously not Xbox exclusive. It's just a reveal and all that. It's coming to a bunch of other platforms and whatnot too. We've also have The Ascent. They showed practically nothing. I'm kind of interested in The Ascent. It's out at the end of next month, but I hear the developer has a bad track record. It's their first PC game that I'm aware of, but they have a pretty bad track record. It is coming with ray tracing, and it's people are saying it's like a pseudo new Diablo, but it's more so it looks more like a twin stick shooter than anything. Hope they put out a demo before launch. We've also got 12 Minutes, which is another relatively high profile indie game with Daisy Ridley and what's James McAvoy? That's his name, James McAvoy. I didn't put their names on here. Basically, what happens over the course of 12 minutes in an apartment or something like that. Fallout 76, they detailed the 2 new expansions, Steel Rain, which is all about the Brotherhood of Steel, which is coming fairly soon, and The Pit, which is a New Vegas related one, which is going to be in 2022. Elder Scrolls Online is getting its Xbox Series X and PS5 Enhanced Edition upgrades. That one, I think, is out now already by the time you're seeing this. You've also had Party Animals, which is basically streamer bait games. Hades is coming to Xbox. It's coming to Game Pass. It's coming to PlayStation as well. But yeah, they included it on here. Diablo 2 remastered got a release date, which is cool. Even though this is on everything. September 23rd. I will be playing it on PC, of course, with my boys. Sea of Thieves got a big Pirate's Life update. It's going to include a bunch of new content. They didn't go too much into it other than it's going to have a new storyline involving Captain Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp. It's going to be free and updated on June 22nd. So you'll get that in about a week from now. We've also got Age of Empires 4 on October 28th. It is an Age of Empires game, so it is PC only. Funny enough, Microsoft/Xbox are making more exclusive PC games than they are Xbox console games, because the console games also come to PC. The PC games also do not come to console. You get the idea. We've got A Plague's Tale Requiem, which is basically A Plague's Tale 2. This one is coming to Xbox Series X and PC 2022. I believe it's coming to PS5, and there is a cloud version confirmed for Switch because it won't run on there. Forza Horizon 5, which is set in Mexico. Strangely enough, this one is coming to Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC November 9th. Like I said, it's set in Mexico. What they showed off on what was probably a PC was it was pretty impressive for some of the photo. They detailed how they did is it photogrammetry, whatever it is. Photogrammetry, I believe it is. But some of it was fairly impressive. Naturally, they weren't showing off the Xbox One version. They would have been showing off the PC version because that will be the best one. But it was running and looked pretty good. Microsoft Flight Simulator is finally coming to the consoles. It's coming to Xbox Series S and X after the Xbox One version got cancelled a little while back. It is coming on July 27th. It is going to be running at 30 frames per second, unless you have a VRR HDMI 2.1 equipped screen, in which case you might get like 35 to 40 FPS, because it's no surprise given that game. Lemnis Gate is also another one we've seen once or twice before. The game is essentially it's weird. It's turn-based first person, but it's set in like a 25-second loop. So one team does one thing, then the other team plays the same 25 seconds after that, and then the other one plays the same 25 seconds after the other two take their turn and try to intercept and kill people and whatnot. It's very strange, but the idea is there. It's coming out anyway. Also, we've seen Redfall, which unfortunately is a new 4-player co-op FPS open world. Let's throw in a bunch more buzzwords while we can, from Arcane Studios, the developers behind the latest Prey and Dishonored. This one is coming with vampires, guns, and magic. It has all the key points for being a very live service game and live service formula. Microsoft also announced the Xbox Series X mini fridge, which I may potentially pick up because I do need a new mini fridge. So it looks nice. It looks like an Xbox Series X. It has a nice green interior. You get the idea. Other than that, that's all the Microsoft one. We'll move on to limited run games. Again, I did not watch this one. I picked up all the announcements right away after. I'm not a big fan of limited run games in general, because I'm not really into what they do, if you will, with one or two exceptions on here, because it includes some ports that essentially didn't exist, or, well, we'll cover now in a minute. So, limited run games, what are they doing? Well, they're doing Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, yes, that game, coming to PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. Contra Anniversary Collection, PS4 and Switch. By the way, I should just say, if you're not familiar with what limited run games do, they offer physical versions of usually digital-only games, or sometimes they even port the games themselves and make physical versions of them, like, say, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. So all of these are getting physical ones in editions that never had a physical version anyway. Going Under, PS4 and Switch. I think I said Contra Anniversary Collection, PS4 and Switch. Retromania Wrestling, PS4 and Switch. RWBY, some people tell me that's pronounced Ruby, but I've literally never heard a single person pronounce it as Ruby. They've all said the individual letters, and that is how I will do it. Grim Eclipse for Switch. Castlevania Requiem for PS4. That's the 2-game collection with, I believe it's Symphony of the Night and Dracula X on the PS4. And that one's for PS4. There's the Shantae collection, Shantae 1 to 5 collection for PS4 and PS5. One Step from Eden, PS4 and Switch. Republic Anniversary Edition for PS4, PSVR, and Switch. I'm not sure how this one goes, because that game did already launch physically on PS4 years ago, unless it was a different version, because this one does say Anniversary Edition. Super Hot, PS4 and Switch. The Takeover, PS4 and Switch. Axiom Verge 2, PS4, PS5 and Switch. Skatebird, PS4 and Switch. Haven, PS4, PS5 and Switch. The important one, like I mentioned with Plumbers Don't Wear Ties here, is this one also is kind of important. Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Now, it is Rondo of Blood. It is going to be officially translated, and it officially licensed and whatnot, and officially released in English for the very first time as Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Interestingly enough, they're launching this one for the Turbo Duo original hardware. So if you have a PC Engine CD, a TurboGrafx CD, a Turbo Duo, or if you're going to be one of the people that are picking up the Analog Duo, I know I won't be. Hell, you know what? Maybe I will be now with Rondo. But it's going to be in English, work on original hardware for the first time ever in English. It's pretty cool. I know I said in English like 50 times there, but you get the idea. Strife Veteran Edition for Switch. Double Dragon Kunio-kun Brawler Bundle for Switch. And there is a Zombies Ate My Neighbors Collector's Edition as well, including PS4 and Switch. It comes with art cards, 3D glasses, the old school ones that, I think the guy's name is Zach, but he has It's got the included like pseudo SNES box inside there as well, and a big, almost like block 3D printed blue water gun like he carries. You can also get individual copies and collector's editions of Zombies Ate My Neighbors or Ghoul Patrol, in which case they come with the cartridges for either the SNES or the Mega Drive. They come with the retro box and some of the stuff as well. I'm just getting it on PC. I would rather have for stuff like this with the limited run games theme, in the case of like zombies, I would rather get the proper true original. But with the likes of Rondo of Blood, I don't know. That's a new and kind of unique and individual one. We'll move on to another show as well that I thankfully didn't watch here because I only had 5 small little points in. We got the Capcom show. They have reconfirmed, well, I shouldn't even say reconfirmed, they announced the release date for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which of course is coming to PC, PS4 and Switch. It's coming out on July 29th. To give a little bit more details, just I mean, if you know the game, you know the game. Monster Hunter Stories 2, which they've been heavily promoting at the moment. It's coming July 9th. We'll have a demo on PC on July 9th, the same day as well. Progress does carry over. There's also a demo coming to Switch on June 25th. And again, you can carry your progress over. Monster Hunter Rise, they've detailed a lot of the new content coming out with all the big subsequent patches and whatnot. And by the time it comes to PC, there's going to be a ton of included content and all in there as well. Resident Evil 8 is getting DLC due to fan request, apparently. I very much doubt that, especially if they're going to have it heavily focused on Ethan Winters, who's one of the worst Resident Evil characters ever made. But yeah, no details, literally just an announcement, and that they're going to be focusing and supporting Street Fighter V esports tournaments and all going forward. Now, we only have 2 more things, 2 more big conferences to talk about here, and then we are done with this episode today. So we've got the Nintendo conference. Now, like I said, I was supposed to stream this one, but upgrading to my gigabit internet at the time, it just did not cooperate. So that's a bit unfortunate. Now, what do we have? In no particular order, because my notes are all out of order here for this one. We've got Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, which is getting new waves of DLC and new passes and whatnot. LOL is all I can say. Breath of the Wild 2, working title, has been confirmed for a planned 2022 release. That is, of course, if development goes smoothly and there's no delays or anything like that, because who knows, Japan is getting racked by COVID at the moment, so that could be a factor in there. Apparently, they do have a proper full title for it. They're just choosing to not reveal it yet because it apparently will give away spoilers or give people an idea of what happens in the game, in the process of the game, which is kind of weird because they're going to need to tell people sometime. Even if they don't tell people the name of the game and you go to buy it day one and pick it up, you will need to see the name of the game at some point. There's also an Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake collection, which is Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, as they call it. Not 100% sure how I feel about the visuals. They are a little bit almost mobile gamey in a way. It is in the battle part of it, at least anyway, is in 3D. I don't know if I'll pick this up or not. I do love Advance Wars 1 and 2, but I do have the originals, and I was planning to stream them on my Analog Pocket if that hopefully launches later this year in October. Strange Brigade, no details about that one. Doom Eternal DLC 1, the Elder Gods 1, is finally getting released on Switch. I say when I say finally, this is a lol finally to me. Over a year later, from the initial game launch. I can't remember when I keep wanting to call it Elder Scrolls. I can't remember when Elder Gods DLC 1 first launched, but yeah, it's pretty laughable. The game shouldn't even exist on a platform. Piece of shit platform, piece of shit console, but you get the idea. Project Zero, or Fatal Frame, depending on where you live, Maiden of Blackwater, has been confirmed for a Switch port. Interestingly about this one, it's also been confirmed for an Xbox One, PS4, Xbox Series, PS5, and PC launch as well as the Switch. So that's going to be weird on how that one goes. This will obviously play best on PC, or at least it should. Koei Tecmo have been kind of hit or miss with their PC ports, looking at stuff like Neo and the Ninja Gaiden collection. But yeah, Project Zero is finally coming to PC. Its first game will be on. It'll be the first game in the series to launch on PC. It'll be the first game in. I guess it would be two games, with 4 and 5 coming to a non-Nintendo platform, because the first one was on PC and Xbox. The second one was on Xbox and Wii. I can't remember if it was on. I think it was on the PS2 as well. Wait, no, hang on. I think I said PC. The first one was on PS2 and Xbox. The second one, I believe, is on Wii, PS2, and Xbox. And then the third one, I believe, is PS2 exclusive. And if I remember correctly, the fourth one is Wii exclusive. I can't remember about the fourth one. Never made it outside of Japan. And then the fifth one, of course, was Wii U exclusive up until now, where it's coming to everything. So we do have our first one. It should, in theory, play best on PC, simply because better frame rate, better quality and all. And probably most importantly with this one, it was made for the Wii U gamepad in mind. So you were like holding up the gamepad and looking around to actually look around. And while that was a great idea, it came across very poorly in execution. It was the worst thing about the game. And unfortunately, Maiden of Blackwater, the fifth entry in the series, is the worst one of the games, of the 5 games. It's not bad. It's just the worst one. 1 and 2 are fantastic. 3, I'm not sure if it was because I was getting a little bit burned out because I played the 3 of them back to back to back recently. 3 wasn't, something about it didn't grab me, but again, it could have been because of that. We'll see. Who knows, maybe if this does well, or relatively well, it shows them that there's a market for it and they'll make a new game and go from there. Hopefully, if they do make a new game, a 6th game in the series, it's not Nintendo exclusive. There's also the Danganronpa Decadence 4-game collection. It includes the original 3 games, or the first 3 games, and a new updated version of the board game included on there too. Shin Megami Tensei 5 has finally got its release date and its reveal, and it will be coming on November 12th, 2021. I can't wait for that. I will definitely be picking that up. It's physical edition all the way, and hopefully they've shown off a collector's edition. Hopefully that one comes to Europe, because so far they've only announced it for Japan. There's also a new 2D Metroid game in development. Metroid Prime 4, of course, is still a no-show, just like Bayonetta. And Metroid is going to be called Metroid Dread. It's got some weird little, almost, I say dog as in dog from Half-Life 2. It's like got like dog robots chasing you, and I believe they're called Emmy or Emmys. Apparently they're in some other Metroid game that I haven't played, but yeah. WarioWare Get It Together is coming out, a new WarioWare game for Switch. Well, I put in Mario Gold, this is a typo. Mario Golf Super Rush. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, of course it's a late port, it wouldn't be if it wasn't on Switch. Mario Party Superstars, which is, I joked and memed about this, that it would be a collection of N64 games cut down, which is true. It is a port, collection of some of the N64 Mario Party games. I almost said Mario Kart games. Mario Party games. But they've reduced the amount of content in it, even though they've included stuff like online multiplayer and whatnot. Despite it having several games, it's only got 5 boards. I'm pretty sure even the first game had 3 or 4 boards in Mario Party. So, yeah. And who knows? It is a Superstars Anniversary Collection. Maybe it'll only be available for a limited time. Who knows? God, remember when Nintendo did that? Awful. Awful. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania Life is Strange Remastered Collection is also coming to Switch, as well as the new upcoming Life is Strange True Colors. There's going to be a Zelda Game & Watch, like they did for the recent Mario one for the anniversary, because remember, it is also Zelda anniversary as well. And of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, the new one, which is a cloud version on Switch because it can't run on there. So yeah, overall, not great, but this is the thing. The bar has been set so low for practically all of these shows that most of them would give you one interesting thing, if even. Nintendo gave me like 2.5 interesting things. And some of them were even existing things. Announcing a release date for a game you knew was already coming, does that even count? But hey, some people say Nintendo won. Is it really a win? Anyway, last up we have Square Enix. So the Square Enix one, it was a little presentation, not much included in there as well. There's Guardians of the Galaxy, like we talked about on the Switch one. It looks basically like Avengers. It looks awful. It's coming to Xbox One, I believe. I think it's coming to Xbox One and PS4. I didn't really pay attention to the platforms because the game looks shite. Xbox Series consoles, PS5, and of course PC, and cloud version on the Switch included too. Final Fantasy 1 to 6 not just remastered, Final Fantasy 1 to 6 pixel remastered, coming to Steam and mobile. Naturally, the Switch fanboys are out in arms, and the salt is exceptionally overflowed when it comes to the fact that these are not coming to Switch. However, I was really excited for these at first, because the Final Fantasy 1 to 6 pixel remasters promised that they would keep the same type of high quality pixel art remastered and bring it up to a higher resolution, essentially. And this is good, because if you look at some of the stuff of their more recent remasters of the old games and whatnot, they're typically using terrible, blurry, soft artwork style, like Final Fantasy. I think it's 4, 5, and 6. They have, oh no, I think it's just 5 and 6, because 4 got the 3D game. So it was looking promising that they would keep the big versions of them, the pixel versions. However, we've seen comparison images. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Literally, SNES games, GBA games, and even the likes of the redone PSP Final Fantasy 1 look better than what they're doing. I wish I had the image to put in over here at the moment, but I just don't. It started off so potential, with so much potential and so epic, but it's looking worse as day goes by. Legend of Mana, they're nothing new. They just showed a quick little intro and a quick little trailer, because the game is out very, very soon as it is. There's going to be new Avengers content, like listings for the flopped game that no one wants over the course of the next 6 months to a year, whatever it is, including the Black Panther one. There's mobile games for Hitman, for Nier, and Final Fantasy VII First Soldier. They didn't give dates, as far as I remember, according to my notes at least anyway, on Hitman or Nier, but Final Fantasy VII First Soldier is going to be out worldwide on iOS and Android in 2021 at some point. Platinum Games are making Babylon's Fall, which is a really bad looking game. It is a live service game coming to Steam, PS4, and PS5. We also have Life is Strange Remaster Collection, September 30th, which we already covered. I don't know how I feel about that one, because if they showed the comparisons, like scene by scene, exact comparison, a lot of it is not really impressive. There's like a minor improvement in lighting. Some scenes when they did show a drastic improvement, but I don't know. It's going to be sold separately. Life is Strange Remaster Collection includes the Before the Storm, I couldn't remember the name of it, the first game, and Before the Storm remastered. I don't know if it played them again. It can be bought as the collection, or it can be included with the Ultimate Edition of Life is Strange True Colors. I still don't know if I'd go and play them again. Games like that, the Telltale games, if you will. I don't know. I'd have to go back and like look at my old playthrough and make sure I completely made different selections, because otherwise if I didn't do that, I would be inclined to make the same choices, because that's how I see the choice when I play the game. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch other people play it. Maybe there's a couple of people I know that would play it. Maybe I'll watch them play it when they get it. Life is Strange True Colors coming September 10th, and like we mentioned, if you have the Ultimate Edition, you will get the Remaster Collection 20 days later on September 30th. I will probably buy True Colors. I don't know how I feel about it just yet. Nothing to do with the characters or the setting or the powers or anything like that. It's more so the fact they're very, very cagey on the length of the game in relation to all their old games, especially because they're charging full price for it as well. So I don't know how that one's going to go. Because when you look at it, even with the price of all the episodes and the length of all the episodes of one of their previous games, even one of their longer games, the price, the length was, well, we knew the length, and the price was still less than True Colors, so we don't know. There's also a new Final Fantasy game coming out, made by Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, and in collaboration with Square Enix Japan. It's called Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, not to be confused with the other meme going around where it's called Final Fantasy Chaos, because, well, it is what it is if you've seen the trailer. And also not Dirge of Cerberus, which is another meme that we know all about. It's coming to Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X, PC, and PS4 and 5. There's also a demo available right now, available for the PS5 of that. Now, that's pretty much it for our, just gonna, look at that OLED right in the background there. It's set up over here, but it's obviously the box. Yeah, that's it. I of course naturally had to speed through this episode a bit, and there wasn't massive amount of stuff to go into details. So many games were just announcements or trailers, and there was nothing really big to talk about. But importantly, we have reached the end of our 86th episode now, because we are ending E3. E3 is over. All the new stuff is going to go back to normal. You will probably see more podcast episodes become more frequent again, like it was, because we, like I said, in the run up to E3, everyone was keeping their big announcements and their big details and reveals and whatnot for E3. Now that that's over, they're not going to have any just yet. They're probably not going to have any for the next 2 weeks or so, but they want to keep some, to keep them relevant, to keep them going, to keep you popular and hype and whatnot and in the news going forward. So I do think starting in probably about 2 weeks from now, it's just an estimate, don't hold me to it, that we'll probably see more of these come back with the old format that I don't have to rush through because there's so many and all on here. But anyway, of course, in the meantime, before we round out this one, remember that you should, if you haven't already, head on over to the Twitch, a link in the description below. We do have our retro game streams, mostly Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. BST. It's good stuff. Yeah. But other than that, let me know in the comment section below. Feel free to slide in questions, comments. What got you hyped and excited for E3? What are you salty about that wasn't revealed? I know I was devastated that Persona 5 Royal was not announced for PC at the PC Gaming Show. I didn't cover that one in here, obviously, because it has its own separate video, which you can check too. And a lot of it was just small indie stuff. So most of it wasn't even worth talking about. But you get the idea. Anyway, I can't even remember how I used to round these ones out, except for the obvious one, so I will see everyone next time. And remember that winners don't play Switch ports.